All right, so I think that we will get started for today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining today's event. Welcome to the fourth part of our 7-part construction webinar series that covers some of the top challenges construction and building material companies face and solutions that NetSuite and Appficiency's construction solution provide to solve those key issues. So today we'll cover the topic of progress billing. We will focus on how NetSuite, combined with Appficiency's billing for construction solution, solves key challenges faced by construction companies regarding progress billing. My name is Claire Sabo, and I'll be kicking off the event for today. I'm a marketing specialist here at Appficiency, in charge of running webinars and various marketing initiatives. I have with me today Johnny Then, our principal and CEO at Appficiency, Morteza Hosseini, who is our Director of Delivery and a seasoned construction expert, Hamid Ishfaq, who is an SBC with experience in the construction ERP space, and Joyce Su, who is a Senior Product Engineer. So for those of you that are not familiar, NetSuite is the first cloud ERP founded over 20 years ago. NetSuite has more than 29,000 customers in more than 200 countries across the globe. Also introducing Appficiency, who provides NetSuite consulting, implementation, and integration services. Appficiency has several construction solutions and has worked with clients in the land developer, general contractor, subcontractor, and engineering design service space. Appficiency also recently received the NetSuite Construction Alliance Partner Spotlight Award for its work in the construction industry. So just a few housekeeping items before we get started. Today's event is being recorded. All lines will be muted, and we'll leave time for questions at the end. So please be sure to submit them in the chat throughout, and we'll be sure to get to them. So to get started, I'll first be going over the agenda for today's event. So first we'll have some introductions, then we'll have an overview of progress billing, a 30-minute product demo, and then end off with some time for Q&A. So I'll now hand it over to Johnny Then, Principal and CEO at Appficiency, for introductions and our presentation.
Thank you so much, Claire. Very nice to meet you all again. Hopefully some of you are returning from some of our other series of webinars. Appficiency, I joined NetSuite in 2008, so worked there for over 7 years. And I have worked on over 300 different NetSuite projects, worked with over 1,000 different NetSuite customers over the years. We're excited today to present to you our construction solution for progress billing. This is one of the many areas that Appficiency has grown from being a services company into also a software company, where we are providing next level and next generation advanced solutions on top of the NetSuite platform, which is rich in functionality as well. Morteza, why don't you introduce yourself?
Thanks, Jenny. Sure. Morteza Hosseini here. I'm the Director of Delivery at Appficiency. In terms of background, I'm a civil engineer who worked for 14 years in construction projects, different roles. And then 8 years ago, decided to join the challenging world of IT and help over 350 construction companies to implement ERP solution. I'm excited to be here, and I will pass it to Hamid.
Thank you, Johnny. Hi, everyone. My name is Hamid Ishfaq, and I am a business consultant at Appficiency. My background is actually in finance and technology, and that technology part is how I landed into the construction ERP space particularly. I have done well over 50 plus construction ERP deployments, both locally and internationally, and I'm really excited to be here.
Thanks so much, Hamid. Today, guys, I wanted to introduce everybody to some of the concepts of why construction software needs a specific solution in the first place, and why this market is actually really underserved. Considering it's such an old industry, we've been obviously doing construction since we could bang two sticks together. But the global construction industry is about 13% of the actual GDP of the world's GDP. And yet, when you look at the growth of construction for productivity, it's much lower than the rest of the world. A lot of that is because it has not yet fully adopted some of the technology advances that are available to it. And one of those categories is software. You'll see that in the first three squares here, we demonstrate to you through some statistics that the construction software industry is ready to hit its own hockey stick, a little behind maybe some of the other industries that have adopted technology more, but nonetheless, a very powerful force and one that we believe is underserved. And so today we're going to go through how that underserved market can leverage what is arguably the world's fastest SaaS ERP, which is the NetSuite platform, which is rich with functionality, and tailor it and use it in a way that matches the construction process more fully. And today we're going to focus on that progress billing in our series of webinars. So to start off, as with all our webinars, I think it's important for us to really understand what progress billing is. And for that, I'm going to turn to Morteza Hosseini here, our construction industry expert, and really ask him, what is progress billing? What is so different about this concept that normal invoicing and billing would not do?
Sure. So let's put it in this way. Construction is an old business, so we have lots of best practices developed around this industry. So one of the best practices would be using the CSI codes or work codes or job codes. And everyone needs to understand at the end of each month or each billing period, what is the progress that you made for each specific topic. So that's literally what we call it progress billing, right? You bill based on your progress according to a predefined structure and breakdown with your customer. Because you can't simply bill a customer for over $1 million if we are talking about a mega project in construction, right? So you need to provide the breakdown.
Okay, so if that's the case for progress billing and breaking it down by these work codes and stuff, why is revenue recognition often come up as part of the discussion? Perhaps our deployment expert here, Hamid, can speak to that.
Yeah, for sure. That's a great question, actually. And in this, we need to look at it from the lens of, how Murtaza said that it's an old industry with old practices, and now we're coming to the new times, essentially. So when it comes to revenue recognition, our main focus is basically looking at what has been the progress that has been made in what the data is in the system in terms of the costs, and basically how we are doing on that front. There are a lot of regulations as well as accounting standards that govern when or how a company is supposed to recognize the revenue itself. And then on the other hand, there is the actual billing activity of asking the client, hey, can you please pay us? Because, we need to maintain our daily activities. And these two things, particularly when it comes to construction, can be different. And most of the times you'll see that they will vary from company to company. They might have a different way of recognizing the revenue based on how the costs are coming in, and then a completely different formula as to how they're billing their customers and when they're actually billing it, and then the appropriate accounting practices to make sure their books are matching up with it.
That's great. That's very helpful, Hamid. And I've often been asked, I think as well, do you support this format or that format? Some of them I can't even. They're just a bunch of numbers to me. Can you talk to me about what these formats are and why do they matter? How are they supported?
Yeah, absolutely. So the most recognized format in construction is AIA. So and when you're talking about the numbers, a general contractor who wants to bill a customer would need to use the G702 and G703. Funny enough, for the people who are in construction, you would be surprised if you hear that actually the other industries now using the AIA format for their billing purposes as well. Because again, it's an old industry with lots of best practices, so everyone loved the format and the simplicity of the AIA, and also what we have in our software, which we call it ABC billing.
Okay, and then maybe one of you experts can help us understand is there a difference actually between different construction or similar to construction type companies that use these billing formats?
Absolutely. So if you think about the different types of construction companies that we have, like land developers, general contractors, self-performers, or design firms that we discussed in our previous webinars as well, they all have different needs in terms of the format. However, before even going through that, I would like to remind everyone of two typical types of contract in construction. We usually have fixed price contract versus cost plus, and they have different mechanism, different structure. So if you think about a land developer is really the owner of the project. So they don't really have a customer to build their draw every month. However, for their finance need, usually they borrow money from the banks, and every month is important for them to send their draw to the bank. So if you tell them, do you need progress bill, they will tell you no. But if you show them the AIA format and say, do you need to send your bank draw in this format, probably they would tell you yes. But their mechanism, I would consider them as part of the cost plus structure. We will discuss that later on, but I'm just setting the foundation here. Okay, so cost plus versus fixed price. General contractors, self-performers, most of the time, the typical type of the contracts that they have is fixed price. So when it's fixed price, you really need to send your billing application according to the progress that you made for each of the items that you agreed upon in your schedule of value. So they usually use the fixed rate, they usually use the AIA, but in a different way than the land developers. The land developers, they just rely on the cost. They rely on the breakdown of their schedule value. It doesn't matter what is their cost. It's all about the breakdown of their revenue, a schedule value. And then the last category, the design or engineering firms, they usually don't need to use the progress billing. Again, it's a matter of how large is the project or the sophisticated project that they are dealing with. If it's a simple project, they usually have milestones and they might send 2 or 3 invoices, depends on when they hit the milestone. However, when we are talking about a design project, or sometimes they have design build contract, that's the time that they definitely need to use the progress billing. And again, the format that is well recognized and accepted in the industry is the AIA/ABC format that we support.
So thanks so much, Morteza. And maybe this next question is better for Hamid here, but when you look at the merge of the NetSuite system and a software system with these AIA formats that you call them, and these work codes, I mean, is this not just a tagging and a markup of a bunch of work types? What's so hard about doing this?
Well, that's a great question, and I guess first of all, kudos to our marketing and design team for making that entire complicated concept so easy to understand using this particular slide. But essentially, there are two parts to the answer itself. Number one is the fact that over here, what you're looking at is a very, very simplified example with just 4 lines and essentially a single project in this particular case. Whereas in reality, when you look at a proper project, there might be hundreds of lines and work codes that are linked to it. And on top of that, that is going across multiple different projects within that same company. So when you do that multiplication of those hundreds of lines across multiple different projects, you're getting to a gargantuan figure, which is not easy to accomplish. And it becomes very, very complicated and hard to keep a track of. Then on top of that, and I wouldn't use the term cherry on top because it's definitely not a cherry, but essentially what you're looking at is you have these different work codes, but they might not be aligning in terms of the schedule of the project itself. It's possible that you are performing work on work code number 1, and then you'd also in that given period, you've performed some work on work code number 3 rather than number 2. And when you go into billing that, you need to make sure that you are able to translate the work done on each of those work codes in that period into the actual billing application. And you're not actually billing the client incorrect figures, because when the client is going to look at the data that you present to them, they have their own, for example, managers or project managers or construction managers on site reviewing the work. And they might come back to you and be like, hey, you just billed us for something that you never even did. So this entire process of manually managing it becomes very complicated, and you need an automated solution. And that is where NetSuite and Appficiency come into play as to how all the data is there in one system, and that the system is able to take that data that someone is entering and making it useful information that can then be used towards invoicing the customer.
Excellent. Hamid, I appreciate that breakdown. I think that's really helpful. From my experience and all the work that we've done over the years with NetSuite, I can tell you that all of our solutions take full advantage of the platform capabilities that NetSuite brings to the table in the first place. And I think that's very important for folks to understand. You can still build in the old-fashioned, what did I put as materials on my order? What did I ship? And what's my progress on that? And progress billing will still work with all of those elements. If you want to use the mass billing operations of NetSuite, it will work with that. If you want to use the advanced revenue management of NetSuite, it will work with that. And your cost progress can drive your revenue recognition. If you want to bill in advance or bill based on fulfillment, you can flip that selection in NetSuite either way, and it will work with that. If you want to add workflow for your complex change order management and all of your specific estimate approval and budgetary approvals for owner changes, etc., it will work with that. And so today, now I'd like to take you guys into the demonstration. We have a lot of great content to do, but we're running out of time. I'd like for you guys to get down to see the actual product and take a look at what progress billing looks like in NetSuite when it's done right. And so I will let Claire introduce Joyce, and we'll go from there.
Amazing. Thank you, Johnny, Morteza, and Hamid for that amazing presentation. So now to introduce Joyce Su, who will be our demonstrator for today. She is a senior product engineer here at Appficiency. She graduated from computer engineering from the University of Waterloo. She has 4+ years of product development and is 3 times NetSuite certified. So I'll now hand it over to Joyce for the demonstration.
Thank you for the overview, Johnny, Morteza, and Hamid. Hey everyone, nice to have you all in this webinar. So in the last 3 webinars of this series, we looked at how to use Appficiency's estimate to project sync functionality to create project tasks directly from the estimate record. And we also looked at how to use Appficiency's construction solution to facilitate the use of schedule values within NetSuite. We also seen how Appi's solution allows you to withhold and release retainage within NetSuite, both on the vendor side and on the customer side. Today, we'll be looking at how to use Appficiency's billing for construction to handle progress billing within NetSuite. With that being said, let's dive into it. So here I have the same sports stadium project that's going on in the last few episodes. This is a fixed fee. This is a fixed price project, although Appficiency solution can also handle cost plus. We We charge around 15% markup on top of our cost. Some of the work is entirely subcontracted out. Some of the work are performed by our own team. And on this project, the customer withhold 10% retainage from us. So we can take a look at the progress billing. The progress billing is located at the bottom of the financial tab. So in NetSuite, you can see these different tabs, and these different tabs contain different information related to the project. So this project record by itself can actually contain a lot of information. For example, the schedule contains the project schedule and project plan. The inventory contains information about the material on the project. And the project overview just contains other miscellaneous project information. And here, this financial tab contains all the relevant financial information for the project. For example, the material drop costing metric, the billing for construction information, the default retainage, and etc. So let's take a look at the progress billing for this project. As you can see, under the list of progress billing, it shows the different types of work, and it shows the progress billing is spanning across different months from May to June, July, and August. So we at the start of the project, we have already discussed the schedule values with our customer, and the customer has signed off on it. And these different types of work shows our schedule values, and these work are derived from the sales contract that's in the system. So because NetSuite is a CRM, it's an ERP, a project management. Therefore, the sales contract we have in the system is being pulled to progress billing, and the schedule values or the amount that's specified on the sales contract shows up as a schedule values. In addition to progress billing, we also have a summary billing, which groups and records the summary information on progress billing. The progress billing shows a breakdown of the work in the same period, and summary billing just sums them up, which gives us a total amount to bill for this period. I'll be diving into more detail in an example shortly. So these progress billing and summary billing are generated at the start of the project. At the start of the project, our project manager enters in the project start date and the estimated end date. And then we clicked on the Create Billing Record button, which creates the summary billing and progress billing spanning the entire duration of the project. We have just seen the progress billing going from May to August, but the progress billing actually goes from May to December, which is the end of the project. Anytime the project is delayed, or there's like additional change order and different work, we just update the project end date and then click on the button again to create more progress billing and summary billing for the additional period. So with that being said, let's take a look at what the progress billing looks like. So on this progress billing, there's this main section which contains information regarding what this progress billing is for. For example, it's for like sewage work. It specifies the project, the summary billing information, the application end date and period end date. Directly on the progress billing record, I can click to go back to the project. I can click to take a look at the work code, and I can also access the summary billing. This is really handy because these links are just one click away, and I can easily go back, review, and make adjustment. The information in the main section is filled out automatically because these information regarding the project already existed in other part of NetSuite, and therefore our people don't have to enter the information twice. It is directly pulled from the sales contract, the project record, and etc. In the default section, it shows me the billing information, and these information are generated automatically from the system. For example, the schedule value is pulled from the sales contract, and the schedule values can contain the change order, or we can track a change order on a separate line. The system can handle both, and we can change it on project by project basis. We will be covering change orders. We will cover change orders in more detail in the next episode. The previous build tracks what we have already invoiced the client for the same type of work on the same project in prior period. Because this is our first application for payment for this project, the previous bill is 0, and the work completed just tracks our tracks the progress we made on this period. And because the contract is for 40,000, our work completed was 20,000, which gives us a 50% complete. We can also see like a retainage being added automatically here. So again, on the project, we specify that there's a 10% retainage, and so the progress billing just pulls in this information from the project, and the retainage is automatically calculated and tracked. So I want to emphasize how powerful it is to have NetSuite, to have project management with NetSuite, because NetSuite is such a unified system. We enter the retainage on the project, and we don't have to enter in retainage again in progress billing or summary billing. The same goes with our sales contract, our purchase order, our vendor bills, and item receipt. If it's in the system once, it's going to be organized and presented in the progress billing and summary billing. No double entry again. So let's take a look at, in our project manager manually enter in the percent complete, because we want to make sure that our billing reflects the entire period, even though our application end date is around 3 days earlier than the end of the period. Therefore, our project manager makes manual adjustment to ensure that our percent complete reflects the entire period, not just the work completed on the date of the application. So we use this table because this table allows us to make multiple edits of percent complete on different type of work on the fly. And this is really handy because we never have to open up each of the record one by one, edit, save it, and close it. These edits are inline edits, and then after click on the edit button, the value is saved automatically. So this is where our project manager enters in the percent complete and material presently stored. These two values are override value, and they show up here in the override section. So the default section posts in the information in the system, and it gives us like a default automatic view of how we're doing on material presently stored, total completed. And we have the option to manually override. When we enter in the manual override, the system is going to look at the override value over the default value. And that's going to be used to drive our summary billing for the period. And that's also going to be used to drive, our schedule values. So at top, we have two buttons. The update progress billing button is when we make some adjustment to the progress billing, or when there is like a new change order in the system, a new item receipt. We click on progress billing. We click on update progress billing, and the material presently stored is updated. This print PDF basically shows the scheduled value PDF, and the scheduled value PDF, in addition to progress billing, is similar to the industry's 703 form. So the schedule values PDF shows the application number, the application date, the period, and the project. It also shows a breakdown of the different work on the project, what the schedule value is, the work we've done this period, the material that's shipped or on site, and then the total completed in addition to retainage. So this is what the progress billing looks like for May. Let's take a look at the summary billing form for May. On the summary billing form, we also have like the certificate information, which shows who's the customer, the project, application number, the period, and then application date. Notice how the customer link is only one click away. So directly on the summary billing record, I can access my customer record and see changes and updates to the customer payment information, and etc. And so it's a project. So just like the progress billing record, the project information is just one click away. On the summary billing information, these project and customer information is all one click away. And that's really handy because I don't have to go through the system just to find the project and the customer. These certificate information are automatically filled out when the summary billing is created. And so our project manager never has to fill in this period and project information. It is automatically populated in NetSuite. In the application section, it shows our original contract sum and other billing information. So these values are also populated directly from NetSuite. For example, the original contract sum is based on our original sales contract with the customer. And then the net change by change order is the sum of total change orders we have in the system. So in the estimating episode, we created a change order for 18,000, and it is a change order. So that 18,000 shows up as a change order, and that gives us our contract sum to date. We also have a total completed and stored to date for the period of May, and that is driven from the sum of total completed for different types of work. So on this project, some of the work is entirely subcontracted out, which is sewage. And for other type of work, it is like pure labor and performed by our staff. And for for the permanent tier forming, we have some of the material received and stored today, and that also drives our total completed and percent complete. So let's take a look at how the total completed is derived, and that will provide more information to how the total complete for May. So this work is entirely subcontracted out to one of our subcontractors, and we issued a PO to our subcontractor for $35K, and then lately our subcontractor has sent over a vendor bill for around $70,000. They told us that they have completed half of the specified work. We went on site and verified it, and they sent us a vendor bill for $70,000. Because our subcontractor completed around 50% of the work, 50% of the contract, therefore we are also 50% complete with regarding to this work. I know in the purchase order it says that it's for $35K. The entire work is for $35K, but because we subcontract out to our subcontractor, we charge a little markup. So the schedule value for us for this work is around $40K. And so 50% complete of 40K gives us around $20,000 of total completed. And that drives $20,000 of total complete for May. So this is how the $45,000 comes from in terms of total completed. Because we track a 10% retainage, and so our total earned less retainage is around $41K. And so our current payment due is also around $41K. So if we if we take a look at the summary PDF, we can see that these values are all showing up in the PDF. This PDF and the summary billing record is similar to the industry's 702. And so we can see the same value that's on the record showing up on the PDF. For example, the original contract price, change order, work completed, and current payment due. In May, we printed out this PDF along with the schedule of value PDF. We use the schedule values PDF as a backup to provide more information to our customer, and together we send it to the customer and the customer's architect. They signed off on it, and so we also sent them an invoice. So let's take a look at the invoice for May. On the invoice, it shows the $45,000 work, and it also shows the 10% retainage. So let's take a look at the actual invoice we sent to the customer. So this is the invoice we sent to the customer. It shows the $45,000, and it also shows the $4,000 retainage, which gives a net total of around $46,000. And this is what we sent over to the customer in May. Right now we're awaiting for payment. So this is what the progress billing looks like. Progress billing and summary billing looks like for May. Let's take a quick look at what the progress billing looks like for June. I just want to show you what the progress billing looks like for the current period when it's time to generate it. Right now, it's only the start of June, but I just want to show you what it currently looks like. So the main information is the same. It's just like a header, except it's adjusted for June. The schedule values is the same because there's no change orders and no changes in the contract. Notice how the previously billed is populated. So the previously billed for June is actually the work completed this period for May. So this is how the system takes care of the different period. We have the work completed for June is around 2,500, and that becomes the previously billed. Sorry, the work completed for May is around 2,500, and that becomes the previously billed for June. We have made some additional progress in June as well, and so our total completed is around 10,000, and our percent complete is 40% complete. So this is what the progress billing looks like for the past period, but also for the current period. And we have seen how the previously billed total completed and work completed adjust based on what we have previously billed. So now let's take a look at the dashboard to show you what the progress billing dashboard looks like. So for those of you who's not so familiar with NetSuite, a dashboard is what you're going to see when you first log into NetSuite. And on this dashboard, it shows me the work completed for this period. It also shows me the revenue less retainage, the payable less retainage, as well as the customer retainage available for release and the subcontract retainage. The KPIs are all for this fiscal period, and this is just a really handy view for me to know what's my total completed this period, what are the amount that I have invoiced, what are the amount I have not invoiced, and what's my payable. And it's really handy for me to see this all at a single glance. To the left, I have a Kpi meter. So this Kpi meter just shows me like what's my revenue less retainage, and it also has a little marker which shows 1.3 million. Basically, I just want the KPI to tell me what's my revenue doing compared to my payable. And as long as my revenue is greater than my payable for the period, this shows green. And this is just a really handy view for me to see when I first log in to NetSuite, to see how my financials is doing overall. So when I scroll down, I can see this graph which shows me what's my revenue. It shows me like across 3 months, what's my revenue looking, and what's my payable looking, and what's the retainers that's being tracked, and that gives me a view of these metrics across these months. In addition, when I scroll down, I can see like a percent complete for different work on a project view. So I have this project filter on, which allows me to see the percent complete for different projects, the percent complete of work for different project. And it's just at a glance view to see like, okay, so for some of the work, I'm like 40 to 50% complete, but for like other type of work, I have not made any progress. And this is just like at a glance view of visuals of the actual work that's done. And if I want to actually drill down even further, I can scroll down to see the revenue by work code. So again, I'm filtering it by the sports stadium project, and it basically shows me what's my original revenue budget, what's my actual revenue, and then what's the remaining revenue, as well as the percentage of revenue that I have achieved on this project. So this concludes the progress billing demo. Thank you so much for your time. Over to you, Murtaza, Johnny, and Hamid.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that demo, Joyce. We will now move on to the Q&A portion of the webinar. I see that some of you have already submitted some questions in the chat. As I mentioned, please feel free to send them over and we'll try our best to get to them. All right. So to start, the first question that we've got through the chat is, what if the schedule of values needs to be grouped by the number of items in the estimate? So I'll let Hamid take that question.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a great question. And it also relates back to basically some of the industry standards that we talk about, such as your CSI code, which, as we know, have different levels and a parent-child kind of a hierarchy and roll-ups happening within them. So this is a very common occurrence within the industry. Some clients, they prefer to have a bit more of a detailed breakdown, whereas some other clients might prefer more of a summary kind of a view. And our system is very much capable of handling all of that, especially the way we manage to bring in those work codes within the system and how we report them. We can set up those parent-child hierarchies, and then we can do different kinds of reportings as we look at that those codes and be able to see that, okay, we can drill down into deeper levels and tag our costs to lower levels codes, essentially, or CSI codes. And then we can look at the reporting from a division level code, and that's all quite possible in the system.
Amazing. Thank you, Hamid. So our next question is, why should materials stored to date be considered in our percent complete calculation? So I'll let Murtaza take this one.
Sure, thank you. This is related to mainly when you have a fixed price contract. If you think about the progress of the project, in order to do the actual work and make some progress, you need to receive some of the materials on site. And this simply needs to be calculated towards the percent completion of the project, because that would provide a weight against the percent completion. And to be more specific, I'm not talking about the work completed percentage. I'm talking about the calculation of how much you should bill the client according to the AIA format. So as Joyce showed you in the ABC slide, we would have a specific column for material stored today. And that is specifically designed for two reasons. One is to support the cash flow for the contractor, right? So you can imagine if I need to purchase all the materials and then I don't install them yet, I still have to pay my supplier, right? So this is for supporting the cash flow. Second, it needs to be calculated against the total percent completion of the project to make sure that you are not actually going above the schedule value in your billing line. So I hope that answered the question.
Yes, definitely does. Thanks, Murtaza. So moving along to the third question that we've gotten. So someone's wondering, how does your billing solution handle the fixed price and cost plus contracts as they require different setups? So I'll let Morteza take that again.
Very good question. Technically, this is what I described at the beginning of the presentation. Our solution designed in a way that we can handle both fixed price and cost plus. The reason that most likely someone would ask me or ask us this question is because most of the time the progress field designed for handling the fixed price contract. And you are right, this requires different setups. So part of the demo that Joyce did for us, she mentioned that, hey, you have the option to override our calculation. So when it's the option, the setup is based on the override, you're technically using the fixed price setup. And if you don't override, system is smart enough to understand that, okay, this is a cost plus contract. I need to calculate all the percentages based on the cost that you incurred to date.
Great. Thank you, Morteza. So our last question that we got in the chat is that someone is wondering, sometimes on a project, the costs in the system are not reflective of the actual progress that has been made, and the PM does know that. So how does the system allow for billing based on real progress and not what the system shows? So I'll let Hamid take this question.
Yeah, for sure. That's actually a great question. And one thing I'll say, it's not sometime, it happens a lot of the times. So the thing is, we would all want the system to be up to date with all the costs being in there at all times. However, the reality of things is that sometimes there's a delay between when a cost is actually incurred in the field and when it actually gets recorded in the system. And there's also a delay between what actually, because our system is using, or we're using that cost that is in the system to derive our percent complete. But in reality, the people at the job site have done a better job. So they have actually been able to accomplish more than what we think from a numbers perspective in the system. So that happens quite a lot. And that's where the flexibility of NetSuite and Efficiency solution comes into place, that you have the ability, or the project manager in this instance has the ability to look at the percent complete based on what the system calculates on using the cost incurred. But then they're able to see in reality that, okay, this number is not reflective of the true work that has been done. So they will go in and they can easily override that particular number and then bill the client according to that.
Amazing.
One more thing that I would like to add to what Hamid mentioned. If you think about the construction industry, the way that we usually calculate the percent completion, there are three specific ways. One, you calculate the percent completion according to the cost. Two, you calculate the percent completion according to the actual progress that you made. Let's say I'm supposed to install 1,000 blocks on a wall, and I install 500 of them. So I can simply say, okay, my progress, my physical progress is 50%. And then the third method that usually we use it for scheduling is your percent completion based on the duration of the work. So this work's supposed to take 10 days. We spend 5 days, so we should be at 50%. The other thing that I would also add here is the fact that we need to always consider the type of the contract. So if you have a cost plus contract, you definitely want to rely on the cost. And if you have a fixed price contract, you definitely want to rely on your physical percent completion, because cost is not relevant. You don't even share the cost with your customer. That's what I wanted to add here.
Amazing. Thank you so much to all of you for that. So on that note, I think we'll end it here if we have no further questions. I would like to wrap up by going over what is next in our webinar series. So for construction companies to be able to track estimates as well as change orders, they definitely need even more than what we've already shown you guys. So please join us for our 3 upcoming webinars, which will cover the topics of change orders, job costing, and a customer success story. So our next one is taking place on June 29th, and that will cover the topic of change orders. So definitely be on the lookout for the invite to that. With that, thank you all so much for joining today. Have a great rest of your day. We'll definitely be sure to send over the on-demand version, and we hope to see you at webinar number 5. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Thank you all.